Welcome to the Community Foundation Virtual Candidate Forum. Can you please briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Macon Cowles. I am a candidate for re-election to Boulder City Council, where I've been serving the last 2 years. And I've been a Boulder resident this time since 1983.
Thank you. Can you tell us about your personal involvement with Boulder County's nonprofit community?
I certainly can. And I would preface that by saying that nonprofit organizations are incredibly important to the health and well-being of Boulder County residents. In partnership with the city and county, Boulder nonprofits provide public goods that are not provided by the private sector: housing, health care, food security, education, integration, transportation, outreach to seniors, and environmental protection. These are all things that are provided by the nonprofits of Boulder County, and they're very important. I've been an environmental and civil rights lawyer all of my career, and for much of my career I've represented environmental groups and people in environmental cases and civil rights litigation. Here in Boulder County, I was on the steering committee of the Land and Water Fund of the Rockies almost from its inception in 1989. We called it legal aid for the environment. We would find lawyers to represent people and citizen groups on environmental cases in Boulder County and throughout the West. I've also been for a number of years, or was for a number of years, on the board of Growing Gardens of Boulder County. And what we did there was to run the community gardens in Boulder County. And also we had a wonderful program still in existence called Cultiva. And we taught gardening and farming techniques to young people. They raised vegetables, raised flowers, and sold them at the local farmers markets. In addition, I was on the board of the Natural Resources Law Center, centered at the University of Colorado. And what we did was study the impact of mining, water, forestry, and wildlife management in the West. I was also chair of the 5,000-member Sierra Club group in Boulder County, the largest environmental organization in the state. I was appointed to the planning board and served a 5-year term from 2001 to 2006. I'm on the board of the Boulder Museum of Contemporary Art right now. I serve additionally as Boulder's representative to the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and I've been on the Boulder City Council for the last 2 years.
Great. Tell us about, the Community Foundation has identified a lack of diversity in representation both among elected officials and among nonprofit leadership. How can the city increase its inclusiveness, particularly in hearing from marginalized community members?
Well, diversity is very important to our community and to my personal values. In the recent development of the Transit Village Area Plan, the city tried something new in outreach to underrepresented communities. We literally sent staff door to door to get increased public involvement from people who normally wouldn't come to the public processes and the planning processes of the city. As for underrepresented people coming into the boards and commissions and the city council itself, the city council requires more than 100 hours a month of voluntary service. And that is, if people are to do a good job, it requires that much time. It is simply impossible for somebody who has to work to support a family to serve on council, because it's essentially unpaid work. Until fair compensation is paid to city council members for their service, people of modest means are not going to be able to do it. Because diversity is so important, it will be increased only when really the city is willing to pay people to serve on city council so that they can also continue to care for their families while they do important civic work.
Thank you. What are your ideas on addressing volatile sales tax revenues, a portion of which is used to support local nonprofits?
Well, over the next 25 years, we have to close a $30 million funding gap in the city budget. And the city budget, of course, importantly, funds nonprofits who work in partnership to deliver services to the city, those that I mentioned in answer to the first question. We have extended the 0.38% sales tax. We did that last year. The City Council also has put on the ballot this year the extension of the 0.15% sales tax, and I hope that the citizens of Boulder adopt that sales tax extension because it too is important to the nonprofits and the providing of these public goods to our people. A third thing that we have done is to ensure that growth pays its way. That is, that new growth, new development in town pays for the cost of infrastructure that is required to service that growth. In this way, new growth will no longer have to be subsidized by existing residents and existing sales taxes and property tax revenues. Finally, it's very important this year that people vote for the ballot initiative that we placed on with respect to the housing excise tax. This will eliminate the housing excise tax on residential development, but it will increase the housing excise tax for commercial and industrial development. It's important because new commercial and industrial development increases the demand for affordable housing in our town, and only by their paying a fair share into the affordable housing money will we be able to continue to provide this important service to people. But beyond that, I think that it's important that we find new money for affordable housing in Boulder, and therefore I look forward to placing on the ballot in the next year or two an affordable housing tax, asking the voters of Boulder to be willing to pay more into this very important program of the city.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the nonprofit community?
I would like to thank all of the people that are working in nonprofits for taking care of people and places within Boulder that otherwise would not get the attention they deserve were it not for the nonprofits. You're doing very important work under difficult financial circumstances. Here's how I, as a city councilor during the last 2 years, have contributed to the community work that you do. Number one, we acquired the property needed to get to zero waste, and we're aggressively implementing a program to reduce our carbon emissions in the town. Number two, we're maintaining human services to our most vulnerable, and we're keeping our libraries and rec centers open and maintaining parks and open space despite a sharp decline in city revenues. Number three, we reaffirmed the city's commitment to affordable housing, and we saved the Orchard Grove Mobile Home Park from people being moved out of there to make room for commercial development. Number four, we're rezoning school properties to remove the incentive of the school board to close neighborhood schools and redevelop them. Number five, we directed staff to draft a tree ordinance that will protect our big legacy trees in town and which will require a beautiful canopy of street trees on every street in Boulder. Let me continue to put my experience in action by re-electing me to City Council. Please let me have your support and your vote. Together we'll make Boulder an even better place in which to live.
Thank you very much.